What's up guys? So today we're going to be reviewing Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. Amazing book and amazing author. So just quickly a little bit about Tony. Tony is such a big figure, literally and figuratively. Robbins is a 2-meter tall American motivational speaker. He's a life coach, business owner and philanthropist. Tony left the house at the age of 17. When Tony was growing up, he was not extremely advantaged. This gave him even more motivation to never let his kids experience this type of hardship. Today, Tony is worth more than $500 million. This book provides you with 7 simple steps to work towards your financial freedom. This is the first book I've read of Tony's 7 books that he's involved in. Money Master the Game, 7 simple steps to financial freedom. First and foremost, before we even carry on, I would definitely recommend this book. It has definitely changed the way I thought. In this book, he tackles 9 financial myths that we all know of. He breaks them down and makes them simple for the everyday person that's not extremely financially literate to understand. In this book, Tony interviews 50 of some of the most successful investors, short-term and long-term investors to ever walk this planet. For this reason alone, I would already recommend it, and that's not even getting to the 7 steps that he gets into. Because think about the chance of you ever meeting one of these investors. 1 out of 7 billion, if that. To open your eyes to understand how much $1 million really is, if you had to change dollars into years, $1 million would be 12 days. But $1 billion, that would be 32 years, which is just insane. It's unfathomable. And that's pretty amazing to show you actually the difference between $1 million and $1 billion. A few of the myths that Tony breaks down is the bad perspective we have on annuities, fees that we actually don't even understand properly, and most important of all, asymmetric investing. And this is where you actually want to have the biggest reward for the smallest risk. We are always told we have to take big risks to get big rewards, but this is not true. The ultra wealthy people in the world will never take huge risks with such big amounts of money. Many times they invest with a chance to lose 3%, where the upside is 100%. First one is fees. It actually shows you how easily we are taken advantage of as simple investors that don't know too much. Obviously, the more and more you read, the more, especially if you're reading books like this and a lot of other books on investment, they break it up and really show you how it works. You might not be able to grasp it, but let me put it into an example for you. If you invested $1 at 7% minus fees for 50 years, this is how they would come out. If you invest $1 in an index fund, which would be a 7% minus your 0.05%, over a 50-year period, at the end of that you would have $30. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a small amount of money. But now let me put it into perspective. If you invested $1 at 5%, which is your 7% minus 2% of active management fees, over the 50-year period, you would be left with $10. So $10 from an active management investor would be 33% over $30 from an index. So if you weigh those up over a 50-year period, that is a lot of money. And the scariest part of this all is you put up 100% of the cash, 100% of the risk for 33% of maybe if your active management fund beats the index. Chances of that also not too great, as we have found out. 4% of active management investors beat the market. After the chapter where Robbins breaks down the myths, I was already hooked. Knowing with amazing track records and unfathomable amounts of money, we're going to break this down and explain it to everyday investor like you and I. With books like this, such as personal development and investing books, if you have to just take 1 to 5 little pieces that they're explaining throughout this book, you're going to come off so much better. Imagine if you just take 2 pieces of every book and you read 2 books a month. That's 4 pieces times 12, that's 48 pieces of gold and ideas and just knowledge that you would get throughout a year, which is pretty amazing actually. If you just break it down and look at it a lot simpler, sometimes you read books over and over, like with me with a 4-hour work week. I was already 100 pages deep and I had to restart because I was not there. And once I restarted, read the book clean within a week, and for me that's a lot, not as such a strong reader, but yeah. One of the main premises of this book is for Tony to help the individual investor. Some of the aspects that he touches on throughout this book is asset allocation, risk to reward investing, and also compounding interest. Compounding on long-term investments is the craziest thing ever. If you're ever down and you feel like you're not getting anywhere with your investments, go online, find a little compound calculator, put in whatever your monthly installments are going to be, put a lower interest rate than you think and put in for 30 years and you're going to be mind blown. You cannot believe the strength of compound interest. A big aspect that Tony touches on is compounding with regards to fees. In this book, Tony touches on the difference between a financial advisor and a fiduciary and shows you how much harder one actually works for you. With reading this book, you really have to make a decision to master this area of your life and commit to putting everything you learn and all the knowledge that you gain throughout this book into action. Working with financials is actually just a big game, and if you don't know the rules, you will never win. Especially with this book, a lot of commitment and discipline is needed to put into action what he tells us. He almost gives you a step-by-step guide For you to get on top, you need to know how much income will be sufficient for you to achieve your dreams. 4 steps Tony brings up to investing like a billionaire is: don't lose money, look for asymmetric risk to rewards, anticipate market disasters. This is not easy, but later on he gives you more ways to lower your risks. And obviously, last but not least, never stop learning. This is not only for your financial but throughout life. One of the big things that Tony still pushes and reminds us that he's human, he encourages us to live a good life and reap the rewards. No doubt the road is going to get bumpy and difficult. If you got your eyes on the prize with your dream bucket with long-term and short-term goals, you know exactly where you're going. It still makes the process a lot easier because you know what you're walking towards. Tony explains financials in different levels. First, it's financial security. That is where you're just getting by comfortably. Then there's financial vitality, which is just the everyday life. Then there's financial independence, where you no longer have to work. The next step is financial freedom. This is where most people want to get. This is where you can live life on your terms and achieve all your bucket list goals. The next one's absolute freedom. This one's quite crazy because this one not a lot of people will ever achieve. It's actually too big to even think of. This is owning resorts, owning jets. Many people actually just want financial independence, and there's nothing wrong with it. As long as you know where you're going, that'll make the road a lot easier. Tony is definitely an advocate of knowing your dreams and your goals. By doing this helps a lot and makes the game winnable. One of the stories he brings up with regards to this is at the beginning of all of his financial seminars, he always asks, what is the price of your goals? Everyone puts up their hand and lots of people give different opinions. One day a younger 20-year-old says, mine is $1 billion. When I got that, I'll be happy I can retire and live the life I want. So Tony's taken aback. All the crowd go a bit crazy. Ooh, wow. Instead of Tony moving on, he slows down and explains to this kid how much it really is. This kid went from a goal of $1 billion down to $10 million for the dream life he wants at the end of. How he got to this was, he said he wanted a Gulfstream, amazing airplane, he wanted a resort, he wanted a boat, he wanted everything he could get his hands on. So Tony said, okay, let's break it down a little bit. And Tony ran the numbers and they figured out the amount of times a guy would use it in his retirement. And the thing is, they could rent out even a better jet and still for cheaper. They could go to even better island resorts for cheaper than owning the island. The difference between $10 million and $1 billion is not comprehensible. But what Tony achieved with this was not breaking down or degrading the kid, but rather put his mind at ease. His goals were a lot easier to achieve without all the stress. Don't get me wrong, $10 million is still a lot of money and you can live an amazing life. But knowing your goals can come so much easier will definitely help. I would personally say the most important thing that Tony brings up in this book is asset allocation. You need a portfolio that can weather all storms, whether the market tanks currently like it did with the coronavirus, or the housing bubble, or the .com or Black Monday in 1987. You need to make sure that your profile is able to weather all of these storms, sometimes limiting your upside. But would you rather gain $100 or lose $100? No one ever wants to lose money. That is the worst feeling ever, and that causes a lot of unnecessary fear. So if you could actually mitigate this would be one of the better processes forward. Obviously, you're never ever going to be risk-free, with asset allocation being one of the most important things that Tony hones in on. Tony gets extremely in-depth opinions on asset allocation from some of the best in the world. Sir John Templeton, Warren Buffett, as everyone knows, Ray Dalio, never forget, John Bogle, the creator of the index fund. Very important thing that he brings up in his interviews, he says, if you could not leave your kid or family with any money, but rather a portfolio with the best asset allocation you can get. And some of the answers they give for amateur investors like myself are really amazing and they go super in depth. So last but definitely not least is we get to the interviews of these books. This is where it gets super interesting. Section 6 of the book. It's amazing actually. I'm going to bring up 2 of the interviews he talks about. First one is Carl Icahn. Has a net worth of $23 billion. So from the period of 2000 to 2014, he had a return of 1,622%. This is when the S&P 500 over that same period only had a return of 73%. And this is because of the last decade, which was between 2000 and 2008 when the markets were flat. He made his money from gambling and playing poker in the army. He came out with $20,000 invested. Over time, obviously working with amazing asset allocation, risk to reward ratios, he is now with $23 billion. Pretty amazing if you ask me. Next person is John Bogle. This is the creator of the index fund. Do not walk over this guy. This guy built the Vanguard Group into the biggest mutual fund management firm in the world, managing a huge $2.86 trillion. To put this into perspective, if Vanguard was an economy, it would be the size of Great Britain's economy. John despises all managed funds and all the unnecessary fees that come along with it. Never mind the percentage of the managers that actually beat the market year on year on year. What John believes in is low cost, low fees funds that track the market. Here's an example why John despises active managers. So an active manager charges between 1.5% and 3% to manage your funds. This includes transaction costs and sales charges. So now the difference is the index fund will cost you 0.05%. So I think it's fair to say I would conclude that this is a good book to buy. Definitely one of the essential books to add to your collection. Also, if you're looking for the book, it will be linked below. Tony Robbins, Money Master the Game. That's it there. And also remember to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Helps so much more than you think. Also subscribe if you like this. And I plan on bringing you lots more.